We're about a dozen sessions into this series, and I figured a refresher on what's going on might be called for, especially for those arriving fashionably late to the party. So these first few minutes may be familiar territory for long-time viewers, yes, but it also includes details that I haven't gone over before, so this might be of interest to you too. Hi, I'm Irene, and this is another entry in my Mijello journal. What is the Mijello journal? It's a project where I swatch, mix, and paint with selected colors from this box of watercolors, Mijello's Mission Gold Pure Pigment set of 34 15-milliliter tubes. Producer Mike purchased this for the channel back in April of 2021, and periodically since then, I've selected one of the colors to feature in a play session. This is the palette I work from. It's also from Mijello, and it's called the Fusion 33. Since I don't use white, it holds all of the other 33 colors. It's worked brilliantly for my purposes. For my mixing surface, I prefer porcelain over plastic, so the removable mixing tray doesn't get much action in this studio. But I think it's a neat feature that adds versatility. I love that the inner paint tray is also removable. Although the outer case has some weight to it, each of the inner trays are lightweight and easily held in my left hand while I wield a brush in my right hand. The wells are large, larger than a whole paint pan even. The swatch chart I made to fit inside has been essential for this series. Each session's featured color has been highlighted in gray to keep me on track. There's no set order. I just pick from what's left for the next Mijello journal video. For the actual journal spread, I like to show about a dozen mixing combinations with the featured pigment. So in preparation, I test mixing possibilities with each of the other colors. I don't record that process, and normally this doesn't get shown in the videos. But it's an important step because that's how I choose which combinations to include in the journal spread. Basically, I pick the ones that look the best to me. I make sure to maintain the same order as in the tray, so I don't have to label the swatches with color info. I use this 100% cotton Be Creative watercolor journal from the Bee Paper Company. Unfortunately, these haven't been available for quite some time, and at this point, I don't expect they'll return. Fortunately, these days I've been seeing more cotton watercolor journal options out there. Paul Rubens, Etcher, and Hanamulla all offer cotton watercolor journals, and I believe Arches now has a spiral-bound journal as well. The brushes can vary depending on my mood, but I often use a quill for the main swatch, a large flat for the sample wash, and a smaller brush for the mixes. Those shown are all from the Princeton Brush Company, specifically their Neptune line. I like to have all the written information ready to go so you can enjoy the good stuff, the swatching, mixing, and painting action. And this is where the video would normally start. I hope that explanation cleared up any confusion or simply satisfied some curiosity. PR122 seems to be a straightforward pigment, meaning there's no contradictory color naming or weird inherent quirks, at least not that I know of. Quinacridone Magenta is its chemical name, and it's simply a very cool shade of red that creates fantastic pink washes. It's also a wonderful mixer, as you'll see on this page. I keep telling myself to refill some of the wells, as several are nearly empty. It's a good way to tell which are your favorites, I guess. In this case, that would be Permanent Yellow Light, PY154, Autumn Orange, PO36, this one here, Quinacridone Permanent Magenta, PR122, Indanthrone Blue, PB60, Cobalt Cerulean Blue Deep, PB36, Green Gold, PY150, Van Dyke Brown, PBR7, and Cobalt Black, PBK27. Yeah, I've gone through a lot of those. Mainly they're pigments that have been featured, yes, but also I love to use them in mixes. I'm enjoying a hot cup of tea here. Well, not real tea. It's a delicious mixture of honey, citron, and ginger that, in Korea, where it originated, it's called yujacha. It looks a lot like jam, and you just stir a spoonful into a cup of hot water to make a soothing beverage experience. It's been years since I last had some, so when I saw a big 4-pound jar of the stuff at Costco, I was all, gimme! I must have looked quite desperate reaching for it from my height-challenged position. A fellow shopper took pity and offered his assistance, but that was just as I got a good grip and snatched it to my chest like an otter with a clam. With eyes darting around and mumbling, "No thanks, I've got it." I'm sure I was the picture of ingratitude. Look, I experience anxiety at Costco. Huge warehouse surroundings and having to weave through mobs of strangers has never been my thing. So I didn't cry when we allowed our membership to lapse several years ago. However, I did miss some things, such as their rotisserie chickens and $2 pizza slices. So I was delighted to receive a Costco membership last Christmas. In fact, last night's dinner was chicken salad made from Costco rotisserie chicken, nestled on a bed of Costco salad greens, and stuffed into big flaky Costco croissants. Tonight's dinner will be chicken a la king. Considering there's still leftover chicken salad, just one of those Costco rotisserie chickens covers several meals for us. I can't say the same about those scrawny Walmart chickens. If I wanted to tie this in with what's actually going on here, I could point out that the amount of product you get in this Mission Gold Pure Pigment set has provided a similarly advantageous return on investment, thus forming a neat and tidy analogy. But I really just wanted to talk about food. A couple of weeks ago, viewer Rainy City kindly reminded me that it had been a while since the last Mijello Journal session. I guess I'd gotten caught up in other things, and it just slipped my mind. On one hand, I don't want this series to end. On the other hand, it would give me a real sense of accomplishment to complete it. It's like in my dreams when I'm trying to walk somewhere, but one leg is doing all the work while the other leg drags behind. I'm sure I just revealed something deep and embarrassing about myself to those who are psych savvy. Perhaps they could enlighten me. Sometimes I still have a, "Oh, that's a surprise" reaction when mixing colors, probably because I don't think about it too much. I mean, it shouldn't be a mystery. If you put two known pigments together, the results are fairly predictable. Speaking of mysteries, I've been a lifelong fan of the mystery genre in all forms, books, movies, games, etc. Before the internet, I relied on magazines for much of my entertainment. One of my favorites was Games Magazine. The usual crosswords and word searches were there, yes, but it was also full of more creative word, math, and picture puzzles. One of my favorite features was eyeball benders, where they provided partial images and you had to figure out what the commonplace everyday objects were. They were sometimes quite challenging. I also recall 1-minute mysteries where a very brief story was accompanied by an illustration full of helpful clues. There's some sentimentality involved because Games Magazine was one of the things my oldest brother used to share with me. Whenever he bought a new issue, he'd leave it out for me to play too. And he never got upset about me finishing his in-progress crosswords, or trying to at least. After merging with World of Puzzles a decade ago, some things have changed. Fewer glossy pages and more newsprint ones, for example. I believe it's still in circulation now, publishing 6, maybe 9 issues a year, under the title Games World of Puzzles. The mixes turned out delightfully intense. The results on the first line are amazing to me. So many gorgeous reds there. And because purple is one of my favorite colors, the second line of both warm and cool variations, what I would call burgundy, violet, and grape, is even better. The third and final line is full of shades that feel very autumnal to me, beginning with an almost burnt orange and ending with deep wine or boysenberry. All of this talk of wine and fruits makes me wish I was sitting in a French cafe indulging in an afternoon treat. Yes, unlike here in the U.S., the French serve wine at their cafes. But since I prefer coffee with my pastries, I'd opt for a Café Viennois with my mixed berry crostata. Look, I've never been to France, but a gal can dream. But back to the topic of mysteries. I am thrilled to hear that Season 3 of Only Murders in the Building is currently in production. Yay! If you haven't watched the series, it might interest you to know that art features heavily in the second season. Firstly, there is the wall mural depicting residents of the building that Mabel started in Season 1. Secondly, there is a mysterious framed painting that disappears and reappears in surprising places. Thirdly, the artist/gallery owner who discovers Mabel, but may have a secret agenda. Yeah, I love a good mystery. The latest Benoit Blanc movie, The Glass Onion, was very entertaining. Interestingly, it also featured a painting, but mostly it was about murder. Several of them. And while this quinacridone permanent magenta is too cool to pass for blood, some of the mixes could absolutely, for the most part, in a pinch, pass for fake blood. Surprisingly, I never got into Murder, She Wrote, the television series from the 1980s and 90s. Not sure why. I mean, I wasn't above cheesy TV detective shows. Back in the day, I watched my share of Heart to Heart and Remington Steele. But these days, I've gained an appreciation for Murder, She Wrote, not through watching the series, but rather via a YouTube channel called Pushing Up Roses. Her content revolves around retro entertainment, and she has a fun series of videos titled That Time on Murder, She Wrote. It's amusing, lighthearted, and pokes gentle fun at the show. Seriously, her videos made me actually watch a few of the original episodes. Perhaps a reboot is called for. So, for the painting subject, I chose Marvel superhero, sometimes supervillain, Scarlet Witch. Well, a shortened version anyway. I had to fit her on an 8x8-inch page, after all. I admit I wanted to be her. Who wouldn't want all those powers while rocking a cape and leotard? By the way, I'd sort of assumed leotard was called that because it was related to the cat suit. You know, cat, Leo. But I was wrong. The leotard's origin goes back to the 1800s and French trapeze artist Jules Leotard. I know, right? Who knew? Cosplay wasn't a thing when I was young, but I later got to see my nephews participate in several Sakura-cons. That's a 3-day event in Seattle that celebrates Japanese culture in general, with an emphasis on anime and gaming. Those were fun times. I remember one evening, after a full day of convention activities, we were treated to dinner at Vaughn's 1000 Spirits. Located in the downtown area, it's close to many things such as Pike Place Market and the convention center. This was close to 20 years ago, and I remember it not for my own meal, but for the dish one of my nephew's girlfriend ordered, the crispy calamari. When I was younger, I rarely ate out, so the only calamari I was familiar with was Mom's boiled squid and the dried cuttlefish jerky found in Asian food markets. My eyes must have been bugging out of my head, because that plate covered with golden fried seafoody goodness gave me serious appetizer envy. Is it any wonder that I don't remember if I ordered a burger or pasta, with that heavenly choir singing to my left? Oh, she eventually offered what she couldn't finish to the rest of the table. If that happened now, I'd be simultaneously chewing and complaining. It's about time. But back then, I still had some pride. Or maybe it was self-consciousness. In any case, I declined, thus losing an opportunity I wouldn't see again until a decade later. Yeah, it took another 10 years to finally find out if crispy calamari was as good as it looked. Unfortunately, I never did return to Vaughn's, so my one and, so far, only time having it was at a Mediterranean restaurant that I don't recall the name of. It didn't look nearly as drool-worthy as Vaughn's, but the taste was everything I'd hoped for. Light, crispy batter on the outside, tender, melt-in-your-mouth squid on the inside, all perfectly seasoned. And that's the tale of my crispy calamari adventure. You're welcome. Not my best work, but it's not going in a frame. At least it fits the video's topic, which is sometimes more challenging than you might think. And as they say, all's well that ends. I'm happy to share this experience. A new Mijello journal entry is one of the things I look forward to here at Inkworks, almost as much as I look forward to a slice of pepperoni pizza on Costco shopping day. Both leave me wondering, why don't we do this more often? Until next time, mix your colors and drink your yujacha, not the other way around. And stay artsy, my friends.